John Lodge of the Moody Blues has died. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. John Lodge was 82 years old. He didn't just anchor the sound of that band with his bass line. By the way, one of rock's most poetic bands. John Charles Lodge helped define the emotional core of the Moody Blues. The family has said he died unexpectedly, but he was one of the giants. We had a chance to interview him twice.
You rehearse hard so that when luck happens, you're ready.
Interestingly, his story isn't really about endings. A lifetime of quiet power this guy had. Deep melody and faith through decades of change with this band. John Lodge was born July 20th, 1943, though some sources say it was 1945, in Birmingham, England. He grew up in a working class environment.
Did your parents get you getting into music? Did they understand and support you?
Yeah, they didn't understand what I was doing, but
Did they live to see your success?
yeah, very much so, very much so. My mom was still coming to see me when she was 90 years of age.
Early influences include Buddy Holly and Jerry Lee Lewis. While studying engineering at the Birmingham College of Advanced Technology, Lodge's real education came from songwriting, local bands, and friendships with musicians like Ray Thomas, who would later become a Moody Blue.
You and Ray went back to what? You were 14 when you met him?
Yeah. Ray used to sing on a Thursday at the Methodist School Youth Club in a little band. And I used to go there, not be part of a table tennis, I think, I can't remember. But I didn't know Ray. I knew what he did there. And I met him one day, I think on the bus, and I said, "You're Ray Thomas?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm Johnny Lodge, basically, shall we band?" And we did, and we became great mates, and I taught Ray to drive a car. That's where friendly and young we were.
In the mid-60s, the Moody Blues went through a major lineup change. Founding bassist Clint Warwick left, and John Lodge joined the band in 1966 as a bassist, vocalist, and songwriter. Then came Justin Hayward, who would replace Denny Lane, who would go on to be with Wings with Paul McCartney. Lodge arrived just in time for what would become the band's signature era, blending rock, orchestral textures, poetic lyrics, and conceptual ambition. It was that first album with the new lineup that sort of changed rock. Some people have called it the first prog album of all time, Days of Future Past.
What was it like making that first album?
It was brilliant, I have to tell you, because before then, recording sessions were like 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, 2 to 5, and 6 till 10. That's all you could have. And when they approached us to make this album, Days of Future Past, we said, we'll do it, providing we can have total lockdown, 24 hours a day in the studio. And I don't think anyone had ever asked for that before. And they said yes. They said,
where'd you get the guts to? Where'd you get, for you're a bunch of young guys, and I love that you did that. And I know the story. I just want you to say it, of course. But where did you get the kahunas to ask that as a young band?
Well, we just did.
1967. Remember, that's the year of Sgt. Pepper's. Kind of redefining what a rock band could be. John Lodge wasn't just a bassist for that band. He wrote and sang some great songs. You look at John Lodge, you look at Ride My Seesaw. I'm just a singer in a rock and roll band. Who could forget that? Isn't Life Strange? Emily's Song, a tribute to his daughter. And he co-wrote Gemini Dream with Justin Hayward.
It was about us going to go on the stage again for the first time. Long time no see. And it was like, okay, that's what we're going to do now. What have we been doing? We haven't been doing anything. We've been just like what everyone else does, not musicians. And so, in a way, it was this Gemini thing about A, being on stage in front of thousands of people, and B, being at home, paint in the shed or something like that.
Let's talk about that vocal presence in the band. Even though Justin Hayward sang a few more hits than John, his voice was a blend of melodic falsetto and real heartfelt warmth. And that voice often stood in contrast to that heavier instrumental textures around him. I mean, there was a lot. They could have a big sound. His family released a statement. It is with deepest sadness that we have to announce that John Lodge, our darling husband, father, grandfather, father-in-law, and brother, has been suddenly, unexpectedly taken from us. As anyone who knew this massive-hearted man knows, it was his enduring love of his wife, Kirsten, and his family that was the most important thing to him, followed by his passion for music and his faith. He was never happier than being on stage. He was just a singer in the rock and roll band, and he adored performing with his band and son-in-law, John, who, by the way, was the vocalist for Yes.
John Davison's your son-in-law? Did I get this right?
Yes, he is.
Where did I miss that?
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
You know, I always say this when someone passes away. I appreciate the hour and a half that John Lodge gave me of his life to, do an interview with us. He's one of the big ones we lost. May he rest in peace. Memories of the Moody Blues, your favorite albums, favorite songs. Did you ever meet John Lodge? Ever see the Moody Blues or him in concert? Make sure you comment on our video, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Take care of yourself.
Is the young kid that wanted to be a musician, I get a feeling he's still living in you, alive and well, and having fun up there.
Yeah, I really am. I play every day. I've just been speaking to Alan Hewitt, my musical guy, this morning, discussing the concert tour. Yeah, I love it. Since I got hooked on rock and roll music when I was 13, it stayed with me all the while. I play music non-stop all day. I just love it, and it's exciting.
It's John Bowden, and here to present one of my favorite artists. Actually, he was my most played artist on Spotify last year, Bernie Chiaravalle, who happens to be Michael McDonald's guitar player for over 3 decades. What a lot of people don't know, that Bernie has his own solo career that's flourishing, that's done incredibly well. We interviewed him a few months ago for his Remnants album, but even since then, Middle Ground has come out, a new one. He's worked with a heck of a lot of people. We're going to talk about that. Bernie Chiaravalle, what a voice. On Rock History Music. The new record, holy snapping turtles. And the last, one of the best tracks on the album is the last track, and I'm going, Bye Bye Misery.
Oh, thanks.
Like, nice riff. Your vocal phrasing is freaking amazing, because that's the kind of phrasing I like. Kind of like storytelling.
All right.
Tell me about that tune. It's just, and the riff is great, and
It's a song that's been around for a little while. It's a true story. It was, basically I wrote it out of a relationship that was pretty tough to get out of, to the point where I had to see a therapist to get through it. And basically, I adored this woman and gave my heart and soul to her, but there was a point where I had to kind of like let go of it all for my own self-preservation. And that's kind of where the Bye Bye Misery, like, enough of this stuff, let's get out of here. So that's kind of like sort of a independence song for me. Just breaking free of all that pain and working it out in a song and playing.
Can't Seem to Let You Go is another one. I mean, I remember you talk about, like, you pray for the pain to stop, and that brought me as well to a point where I remember in the early 90s, I was going through this breakup. It was just awful. Then you realize later on, through therapy and through whatever you do. Tell me about that song, Can't Seem to Let You Go.
That's written about the same, in the same era, same relationship. That's the yin and yang of it. It's like I'm saying goodbye to misery in the other one, but in the other one, I can't quite seem to figure out how to do this. But again, I think I'm dealing with it and moving on. It's another moving on song, kind of just confronting my pain and confronting my weaknesses. But that one was more of a weaker moment, I think, than the other one. The other one, like I said, is more independence, breaking free. That one was still kind of being like, how do I figure this one out? Oddly, they're both piano songs. I wrote them both on piano, but they come off as guitar songs. But I wrote them both on piano, interestingly enough.
When you were with the Doobies,
Hmm.
was that a well-oiled machine? Was that like, do they have it down? What did you learn from touring with those guys?
Well, yes. I mean, especially Pat and Tommy. I mean, those two guys have been together a long, long time. Pat is really the center of that band. Um, I mean, he's the longest member and really kind of now that Tommy's back, it's great, but Pat is really the heart and soul, and I think they'll all tell you that. Um, and they're all real people. Yeah, they are a family as well. Uh, and now that and Mike's playing with them again, Mike's kind of in the band now. It was a reunion tour, and now it's sort of like extended. They made an album, and uh, it, you know, they approach it with like real life. There's no bullshit. It's like uh, they just want to make real music and be happy, and just kind of ride this wave that they're having, which I'm so happy for them because those guys deserve it. They're, you know, they're the real deal, no doubt about it. And I guess that's what I learned. I learned, I really learned a lot from Michael, and I actually talked to him about this recently. He's like, to me, he's like an older brother that I never had. He's got his faults just like any of us, but the one thing that's really strong about him that I really admire about him is he's so real and so polite with people. Um, he'll always ask about my mom. He'll ask about my family. It's like he's not concerned with all the bullshit that surrounds it all. He's just a real guy, and he honestly listens and honestly cares. And I think the Doobie Brothers set that same model. Uh, uh, but I, in particular, really admire Michael for that. He's been a good example for me to learn from.
Are there shows coming up with Michael?
Yes, yes, they start up again in July. I hear different things that this could be the last year of that they're going to do it, but I can't say that officially. But they are releasing an album. They are doing a tour. They're actually playing in England, opening for Jeff Lynne, like Jeff Lynne's final show at Hyde Park in London in July. The Doobies are opening. That's a big show.
That's Jeff Lindsay LO.
Yeah, Jeff Lynne's ELO, and I bet Jeff's hanging it up after that. He's not touring anymore.
How do you feel when you go into a new record? I always sense with you that there's like, what happens if I press this? Oh, let's do this. And it's excitement. Is there a little kid in you that when you start a new project, you've got that, wow, let's start a new project?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I am still a kid at heart, where when it comes to recording and creating songs, I just I can't get enough of it. I'm always doing it. I do it every day. And that record in particular, it's funny because I did that one really fast. It was not a planned record. I had a group of songs, and all of a sudden I went, oh, these songs kind of fit together. And I went, okay, I'll put it out. I mean, I literally did that album in 2 months. I just put it all together, and just I had not planned on releasing it because I've got another record I'm working on now that was the record I was working on. I'm still working on it. But that one just sort of happened. When I'm not as good at it, then I'll kind of know, well, maybe I should maybe not do this as much. But I love it more than I ever have, and I feel I'm better at making choices, and when it comes to words and music and mixing and putting it all together, I feel like I'm better at it. Um, and I'm taking on other projects where I'm producing other people. I just love it. And I'm going to do it until I can't. I mean, I've got another 25 songs that I'm working on right now. And I know that it's a record, but I'm kind of letting them sit a little bit. And 'cause, like you said, I feel it is my best stuff. Um, but writers are always a little prejudiced towards newer stuff. It's like because it feels fresh. But I'm letting these songs sit for a while because I truly believe it might be some of my best stuff. So I'm letting time kind of tell me what's better than what, and they're holding up. So I have a feeling I'll have something out by the summer, another one.
Time has this sense of it gives us great sense of discernment. I remember, of leaving certain things out. The juggle you'd think would be harder as we get older, because it is in some ways. It's hard to juggle things. But there's the other part of getting older, and I guess that's what I'm trying to do with this question of heralding the fact that I don't know. It's more fun now. You stop being apologetic. You don't suffer fools. Whatever mother statements you want to put in there, but you're
Yeah,
able to pick out bullshit in life,
yeah.
in songs of going, I can't do that line, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. I mean, we're on the other side of the spectrum as far as our lifespan, and I do. I enjoy it more than I ever have, and I don't have time for bullshit. It's like, you know, if I don't want to do something now, I just pass on it. It's like, and I'm glad I have that luxury to be able to do that because I know a lot of people are out there doing what they don't want to do because they have to, and I've got a wonderful supporting wife who uh, lets me be who I am, and that helps a lot. Um, I'm fortunate. So yeah, I enjoy it more than I ever have. I couldn't agree with that statement more.
Come a long way with what we're talking about. First song on the album, Heaven Must Be Watching Over You. Great opener, real power, horns. Tell me about that tune.
Yeah, that song's about the same woman that I was breaking up with, but it was kind of a more of a positive take on it because um, I just kind of was just noticing that this was after we'd broken up, and I was just proud of her for kind of, because she was the one who initiated the breakup. I was the one who struggled through it and lost myself and had to figure out how to get back to being my own individual. But she kind of powered through it, and I was just that's my song to just say, hey, I'm proud of you. I still love you, but now I guess our relationship is different. But I see you've come a long way. I see you've, you know, more than I have, and so yeah, I always liked that song. It was kind of inspired by Prince. I really liked what Prince was doing in that period,
Yeah.
and so and a little bit by McCartney's "Coming Up." That the riff that he had in that song. I liked that guitar riff, so I kind of thought I could write something sort of like that. So I was inspired to write sort of the guitar piece and kind of build a groove around it. And lyrics are weird for me because I never really know what I'm going to write in particular until I start doing it. Very rarely do I have a title or a subject. And I've heard McCartney say it. It's kind of magic. It's sort of like the music just kind of tells you what to write about for me. And I know other writers that are the same way. The lyrics just sort of they kind of come out of the air, and you got to kind of open yourself up and let them come out. And it's not easy. Uh, and once they start coming, I'm able to kind of analyze it and kind of go, okay, where should I go with this? And
Yeah.
but that song is a good example of that.
Recently, I've been going through these little high eight, um, and
Yeah.
I'm bringing this up for a reason. I'm watching myself from 1990, won $10,000 in the lottery in 1990. So I went out and bought myself a high eight Sony camcorder. Time's an interesting thing, and because we're mentioning, inspiration for songs. I'm looking at myself with slightly longer hair than you have right now. And I'm going, well, this 30-year-old, I'm looking at this guy who's me. I look damn good, I must say. I look like a rock star. But I'm watching myself and going, who is that guy? It's because I've never watched these videos. I bought this camcorder for $1,000 and never really looked at anything. So I'm watching it and I'm seeing, then it's me and my ex, it's me and my other ex after that. And I'm going, and some of them I'm still, like I said, most of them I'm still in contact with. But what I've got? And it touches on what you just said on track one. I looked at him going, I don't know why after all these years of counseling and figuring it out, I'm going, oh, it wasn't what I thought it was. It was something different. And I
Yeah.
guess that's what all old relationships are. I mean, if they have a time limit, that I think that if someone would have came up to me and says, just a chapter, it's not even a big chapter in your book, or whether that's a job or a friend or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever in your life, right? And it blew my mind. And so that's what touched when you mention you're proud of someone to be able to do that, to have the insight to be able to say, hey, good for you.
Yeah. No, it's good. There's life's too short to be holding anger and regret and hate. You know, there's too much. Love is too positive. It's just it's better to be happy.
Yeah.
All in all, I mean, you avoid the things that make you unhappy, but um, I prefer positive relationships.
Anytime I think of you, to me, that song had like when in the beginning it says a sort of that feel like mysterious sense of determination.
That's a newer song, but it's based on that same relationship. I mean, it's sort of me kind of looking at it, going, like you said, what was I thinking? Who was I back then? That's a great point because that's what that song really encompasses. That like I don't think I would do that now. I don't think I'd make those choices now because the person I am now because of what I've learned. And that's I mean that line anytime I think of you makes me wonder what I was going through or makes me how I ever fell for you or whatever I said. That's it's like like I said I don't I was a completely different person back then. I was weaker, not sure who I was, very dependent on her. I wouldn't make those same choices now. And that's sort of that song, what that sums up. Um, I like that one too. It does have kind of a tension to it that I like.
Forevermore, a pretty tune. That chorus gave me goosebumps. That is a strong, and that chorus stayed with me.
Thank you. I like that song too. That was actually uh, the line. Someone played my heart like an old guitar. That Susan Martyr, a friend of mine for years, she gave me that line, and that's all she gave me. There was no chords, no melody, and so I kind of wrote a song using metaphors about, your heart is it's like an open book. I try to make it about music, but make it about love at the same time. Uh, I'm kind of proud of that one. She liked it a lot. She liked she when I played it for her recently, she was happy that I got what she was giving me out of that line. I've had that line for years, and just recently kind of wrote a song around it.
You do that a lot when you come up with someone will give you a line or you'll see a line. Do you have a lot? Do you have like a book you refer back to?
Yeah, I note things down now and then. That, like I said, that Forevermore was kind of the exception of the rule where I actually had a line that inspired me to write around it. And that song's a complete fantasy. It's not about anybody in particular, but I like the idea of writing a song that the lyrics kind of had double meaning. Um, but yeah, like I said before, I mostly kind of write words on the fly when I've got it. I'm mostly inspired by music. If I've got a chord progression, it makes me it suggests a melody to me, and then the words will come if I'm inspired by the melody and the chords. I'm more of a music first kind of guy, but I do, on the other hand, write words down from time to time and go, yeah, this might make a good, cool song. But more the other way around. It's more music first for me.
Corners of
Lyric.
my mind, just when you think you got it down, it claims another fool. See, I see that and I'm going, okay, he's gotten the lessons. He's gotten, and you don't have to, you never get all the lessons, but when you go through whatever you go through, um, there's more in there's more in your holster, I find. Tell me about that song.
Well, that one is another example of writing with my friend Lisa Patton on that one. That I think I wrote maybe two or three lines on that song. That was basically a poem that she gave me. No music, no melody. And I wrote a track around it and wrote a melody. And I'm proud of that one. That one's it's kind of inspired by Michael McDonald style. I kind of sort of tried to sing like him in it a little bit. I mean, no one could sing like him, of course, but I kind of drew from that sort of R&B place that he comes from. Try to make it a little more Marvin Gaye-ish, a little more uh, just different for me. It's a real different track. I like that one a lot. But Lisa, basically, that's her lyric. Um, it's a very collaborative 50-50 thing. I wrote the music 100%, and pretty much she wrote 100% of the lyric. And it's based on a relationship that she had, um, kind of another painful experience that she had. So I can relate to that stuff. So it touched my heart. So I think I was the right person to write the music for that.
Tell me about Lisa Patton.
Lisa is a very talented book author. She's written 4 books, maybe 5. Her books actually were highly acclaimed. She's a great writer. Uh, she was actually Michael McDonald's assistant for a while. She actually was our road manager at one point for a Michael tour over in Europe. But her passion has always been writing. She's a great author. Look her up. She's great. She's from Memphis. She's definitely a classic Southern belle. She's got the Southern charm. She's a wonderful person. Dear friend of mine. She writes poems from time to time. I think we're going to try to write another song together, but that song, like I said, was a complete poem, completely written. I just wrote music around it, sort of a la Bernie Taupin and Elton John.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Pretty much what it was, because that's what Elton did. He just took his poems and wrote music to them. That's a great thing. I've done that maybe a dozen times over my years, and I've always loved it. I've always loved doing that. If you can find the phrasing in their rhythm of the lyric, music comes pretty easy for me on that kind of stuff. I would do that more if I could. If I can find a rhythm in their lyric and I can see a pattern, it gives me the inspiration to build the chords around it. I did that with Amy McDonald when we did her album. We wrote one song called "Witness" on Miracle River. Uh, she had a lyric, but no melody, and I just could hear it in her phrasing. I just went, "Oh, that's in B. Should be an open tuning," and it lyrics can speak to me in that way. I
You
love
know,
doing it.
Amy Holland, that woman's voice
Yeah.
can make me cry.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She doesn't do it enough. I wish she would do it more, but when she does it, it's 100% authentic and heartfelt and intelligent and touching, all of it. But Amy's maybe my favorite writer I've ever written with. I mean, next to Michael, I love writing with Michael. Um, but with Amy, I feel like um, I almost connect more with Amy than anybody else because I understand where she's going. With Michael, he's got a thing about him that's like so mysterious sometimes that I'm not exactly sure where to go with his writing sometimes. Although we find it, but he's deep. And but with Amy, I think we're a little more of like-minded as far as the way we write and the way we feel and the way we communicate lyrically. So yeah, I've written probably 2 dozen songs with Amy.
And you
Um,
produced her, right?
yeah, I produced that whole album. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, that's really one of my crowning achievements. I love that album to this day. And she does too, which is nice. Shannon worked on that a lot with me. Shannon Forrest. He pretty much engineered that album for me. After I did a lot of it here in my studio, but then when we had the tracks where he played drums on everything. So I took him over to, well, it was Michael's studio at the time. And Shannon had his board in there, his SSL, and Shannon really brought that album to life for me. Really uh, got in there and dialed the tones in, and really, I mean, I've almost given him a production credit on it in a way. I mean, he sort of really helped me kind of shape the songs, but it was more of an engineering thing. But he definitely lent me some production uh, uh, feel here and there.
Steve Gadd's, he's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
He's like,
I had the honor of playing with him on the Michael the Nam tribute in 2000. It was surreal playing with him. He's totally low key. I mean, he's like, you know, but he's amazing.
tell me what you want. You redid it.
I did. I always felt I didn't capture it the first time, and I just sort of revisited it, and I like this new version. I
I
mean,
like
it's
this new version.
a little more aggressive, a little tighter. And, you know, here's an interesting thing. I first demoed that song years and years ago, and
How far back to go?
uh, probably 1990. I mean, somewhere around there, or late 80s, somewhere around there. And I always liked the demo. I always liked the demo. I like the tempo and sometimes for me, when I write a song and record it right away, sometimes those first impressions can be the best feel for the songs. But it just wasn't good enough. So I never put it out. So then I re-recorded it when I put it out last time, and I just didn't feel I captured it. Okay, there's this new technology, I'm sure you know about AI technology, where you can take tracks and separate tracks. What I did was I fed my original demo that I did, because I don't have the multi-tracks for that anymore. It's just a 2-track stereo thing. But you can feed it in, and it knows how to separate. It'll give you the vocal track, the bass track, the drum tracks, and then various. It kind of does a rough job of keyboards and guitars. Doesn't do a really good job of separating those, but it definitely gives you the vocal and the bass and the drums. So what I was able to do was to take those stems, bring them into a new arrangement, match them up to a tempo, and I could isolate the vocal because I really liked the vocal from that original take. So that version, the new version, is half the original vocal and half new vocal. I merged them together and just built a new track around that original vocal and that original tempo. So I was able to capture the urgency that I felt was in that original demo. Long drawn out story, but it's fascinating that you can do that. And I've done that with some of my older songs where I was able to go back and kind of rebuild the demo and rewrite these songs that I felt I didn't quite get it, but now I feel like I'm better and I can rewrite it and make it better. So that's the part of AI I really like. And it's nothing fake about it. It's just you're able to isolate the parts and grab. That's what they did with that John Lennon song with the Beatles, with Now and Then. They were able to go in and grab his vocal and separate all the junk around it and clean it up. There's nothing fake about it. It's like cleaning up a dirty video or a bad sounding home on something where you can clean that stuff up.
Plus, it's you. Plus, it is you. I mean,
it is you, but it's just, it's like EQ or compression or reverb. It's just enhancement is all it is. It's just helping tools.
you redid a certain little Beatles song from Revolver. I love the Revolver Rubber Soul stage because to me, I'm going, that's the Beatles there. You got Revolver and Rubber Soul, and then the other Beatles after those two albums are so pivotal to me. Tell me about redoing that tune.
Oh, Here, There, and Everywhere. Yes. Well, that's one of my all-time favorite songs. Honestly, I did not set out to do that song for any other reason as an exercise. Every once in a while, I kind of challenge myself to just go in and go, okay, today I think I'm just going to listen to this Beatles song and I want to learn a little bit more about the way they produced it and the way they did it. So I just kind of started with that idea in mind, nothing else, just as an exercise. First off, I thought I would do it slower. I thought their tempo was just a little quick for me. I'm not criticizing what they did because it was beautiful, but I thought a slower version might be nice. And McCartney's key was a little high for me, so I lowered it down, I think a third from where he sang it. So it's a little lower, the vocal, but I liked what he did with using sort of his head voice. So I try to use that kind of feel when I did the vocal. And what he did on the Revolver album is he double tracked his voice, which they did a lot, but he panned them left and right. And I've always thought that was really cool because there's this sweetness about it, but he's singing it twice. So you're kind of going, you're hearing both sides, but at sometimes the left gets a little stronger or the right gets a little stronger, and then they do kind of something. And I did kind of the same thing with my voice on that. And I also listened very carefully to the three-part harmony that I read that George Martin arranged. And it's the three of them, John, Paul, and George, singing a three-part harmony throughout the tune, except in the B section. I wander everywhere, and if she's beside me, they pulled out the vocals for that. But then the verses, so I did that. And then I did kind of just my own arrangement beyond that. And then when I was done with that, I went, this sounds pretty good. I think I'll put it out. Why not? So I just put a single out, and I've gotten really great response on it.
It's done well on Spotify. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And you can license for streaming. You can license Beatles songs for pretty cheap these
Really?
days. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I mean, unless you're like Taylor Swift, where you get like a million streams a day, then it gets costly. But let's face it, I'm an independent artist, and I would imagine if I streamed really well, they might come after me for more. But it cost me literally $80 to license that song. So I went, man, that's worth it.
Mention party conversations a lot in my interviews because I remember them. I tend to, not drink a lot in parties and I'm always hovering around their stereo and their record collection, especially in the 80s. But I remember having this conversation with a guy who said, well, McCartney's albums would have sounded like if John was working with them. I said, well, you're talking about the Beatles then? I know there's two other guys. And we were talking about the fact that, Elvis Costello had said, I think years ago, he says, well, McCartney doesn't finish his songs or something. I'm paraphrasing, but he's basically saying that McCartney wasn't as disciplined. I'm going, but you're talking about Paul McCartney here. But but it made me think about what would have happened when you look at the body of work from the four, especially the three guys, even Ringo. What could have happened if the thing about John and Paul, they were really, it's overstating the obvious, but they really did push each other so much in the competition ways and creative ways.
Yeah, I've got my feelings about all that. I mean, I feel like, I saw an interview with Paul recently where he said every time he writes, he kind of imagines that John's there. Like, what would John think? I think they both pushed each other. It's especially towards the end of the Beatles. I think John had to be pushed a lot. He was like, Paul's always been a workaholic, and John sometimes just couldn't be bothered with it. I don't think Strawberry Fields would be what it was without Paul. I mean, Paul really pushed John, benefited from Mr. Kite. That song would not have been what it was without John and without Paul, and reverse. I remember I've seen funny you should mention Elvis Costello, an interview with Elvis Costello when they were working on Flaming Flowers in the Dirt. They wrote a lot of songs together, and there was one song called That Day Is Done that they wrote together. And he said, Paul just kept singing, that day is done. That day is done. It's like, why are you singing that over and over and over? And he said, he suddenly dawned on him, oh, let it be. Let it be. He goes, I get it now. It's Paul. That's the way he writes. He kind of, it's like it may sound monotonous, but in the end it works. That's just Paul. Yeah, I would love to know what Paul and John would have done together. I mean, we got a glimpse of the Beatles when they came back together and did Real Love and Free as a Bird. And even now and then, I mean, obviously it was not the same because John wasn't there, but immediately it sounded like the Beatles, and Jeff Lynne had a lot to do with that, but it would have sounded wonderful. And I honestly believe if John would have lived, he would have been a part of that anthology. They would have gotten back together again. I'm confident of that.
Oh yeah,
because John was already showing signs of it, much more so than George. I mean, George was always kind of going, "Nah, that was the Beatles. That'll never happen again." John, I've saw him in many interviews where he goes, "Well, you never know." They were sitting on the beach, and it was like 1976 or so, or 75, and John actually said, if it was right, I wouldn't do it for the money, but if it was right and the inspiration was right and we felt like we should do it, yeah, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
So I know John would have done it. Yeah, but Paul to me is like, yeah, he probably could use that extra push sometimes, but there's been glimpses of just sheer genius of his in his solo career. I mean, a song I covered on my cover album, Motor of Love, I think is just a brilliant song by Paul. I don't know if John could have made that any better. Um, could Paul have made Imagine any better? I don't think so. I mean, those were individual John and Paul songs. But yeah, there were a lot of songs I think they both could have made each other better. Uh, but
Uh,
I could talk for hours about the Beatles. It speaks a lot for McCartney because I think he was kind of the musical genius of the Beatles. I think John was also a genius in the sense lyrically he was genius, and I think his originality of the way he wrote and phrased, nobody could do that. I mean, only John could do that. And yeah, imagine, I mean, even the drum intro when he first comes in, Alan, that's Ringo. That's Ringo. And I'm sure he would say that 100%. You know, if any Beatles song, whether it's individual, it has to be treated that way because that's the Beatles. They were still Beatles. I mean, they're even though they were individuals. I mean, listen to George's stuff. It's completely Beatles. All Things Must Pass is so Beatles. But
And
that's what I,
Alan was on that as well, you know.
you know, they all could have done that together. They still could have done it. I mean, it was their personalities and their maturities that were changing that kind of prevented them from being together anymore. But I think that stuff would have come out equally as good or better if they were still together.
Young guys. You touched on it. Yeah, they were young. That's what
Yeah.
young people do when there's a lot at stake, whether it's money or music and or these guys were, people talk about the Eagles and, Bernie Ledden pouring a beer on Glenn Fry's head, which he said they kind of made amends a little bit towards it. But I'm going, you look back and you go, kind of like me looking at my video of me, I'm going, who the hell's, yeah, well, I'm not
Yeah.
that.
Well, you
Hopefully, I'm not that guy now. Why would you want to be? Why would you want to be the person you were 20 years ago?
Absolutely. There were kids. I mean, McCartney was 27 when the Beatles broke up.
Hmm.
And you've got that youth, and plus then you've got all the fame and fortune added onto it. And it's like, you know, easy grounds for messing up.
Yeah. Badfingers fan?
Oh yeah, I love Badfinger.
Talking about, the Apple records in the beginning where you have like the Beatles behind you, or at least their label, and now and then a Beatle would come in and just help out.
Yeah, I mean, Badfinger was kind of like Beatles Junior. I mean, they were I thought they were the Beatles when I was younger. When they first came out, I went, "Oh, Beatles new Beatles song." Especially "Come and Get It," which was basically McCartney's tune that he made them copy perfectly. Um, yeah, I mean, Badfinger was I love all their stuff. Unfortunately, I mean, two of those guys died pretty young. So not much longevity there. Todd Rundgren was really linked to those guys too. Um, because George Harrison, I think, if I read correctly, George Harrison sort of produced them in the beginning, but then got so busy that they hired Todd to come in and finish up a lot of their stuff. And Todd was really instrumental in a lot of their great sounding records. Uh, but yeah, I still listen to those guys, and those records still really hold up. Production wise, song wise, performance wise.
Open up your heart. I felt a little Tears for Fears happening in there. I felt a little kind of like Roland Orzabal kind of, there's a lament that he does. You have that on guitar. The guitar is powerful to me on that song.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one reason this album I called it Remnants is because um, that's a remnant from. It's funny you should say Tears for Fears because it was kind of written in that period originally. It's kind of an '80s. It's definitely an '80s song, and I love Tears for Fears. So it could have very well been inspired by listening to them at the time. And lyrically and musically, yeah, it's very '80s. I love the 80s myself. A lot of people criticize it. I think it's kind of had a turnaround. It used to be like the 80s. They say the same thing about the 70s, but the 70s and 80s are some of my favorite music still. Um, and I've come to really appreciate the 80s. So that song, yeah, that's an 80s song.
What are your go-to albums from like the 70s, for instance?
Elton John, I mean,
Which ones?
Yellow Brick Road, I mean, isn't that 70s? I mean, I
70,
love,
73, yeah.
yeah, I love that. I love McCartney stuff. I mean, I love Band on the Run. Uh, again, Ram, I loved Ram. Um,
Which one's your favorite McCartney?
Boy, that's a good question. I would say probably his first solo record, even though the record as a whole, it's not, I pass on a few songs, but maybe I'm amazed. Teddy Boy, Junk, just to me are classics. Um, I liked I liked Flaming Pie a lot. I thought there was some great stuff on that, but probably his first solo record. I mean, to this day, I think because it inspired me so much as a kid. Um, when I learned that he played all the instruments, I just kind of went, that's what I want to do. I want to know how to do that. I've heard Neil Young say the same thing. But that album turned his head around. So yeah, I'd have to say that one's my longstanding favorite record of his.
80s had so many, there was like new styles of music, like rap came up, and I'm not a rap guy, but I appreciated the fact that it's hard to define the 80s. I mean, there's the big drums that sound like the Tupperware drums, like the Phil
Yeah,
Collins
yeah, yeah.
stuff.
Like Phil
There's
Collins.
the keys. There's so much stuff happening in the 80s.
I really liked that one Yes album.
90215.
Yeah,
Is it?
that album, I played the hell out of it. I listened to that thing over and over and over again. I think from the 80s, that was probably that and I it did Peter Gabriel's So come out in the 80s as well. That those two records I listened to like crazy. I liked I liked Michael McDonald's this is before I knew him, but I really liked his first solo album, If That's What It Takes. That one, I really liked Kenny Loggins' record around that same period, where they both covered I Gotta Try. Uh, I like Kenny's version. I like Michael's version. I like both of them. Um, yeah, those records really inspired me. The Yes album, uh, Peter Gabriel, Michael. I would have never thought at the time that I'd ever be playing with Michael at that time. I would have never thought of it in a million years.
How did that happen? Oh, David
Uh,
Pack, right?
yes, David Pack, but also my friend Ed Simeon. Ed Simeon has been my friend. It used to be my brother-in-law was actually when I was married to that other person I was talking to you about earlier, but we're still dear friends. But he was Michael's keyboard tech at the time. Uh, he's a highly intelligent, technical uh, tech.
Wizard.
He just knows. You can ask him about anything, any subject, and he will know the answer. But he was Michael's keyboard tech. So I met Michael actually through Ed. Um, that was the first time I ever met Mike. And at that time, again, I would never think, well, that's Michael. I mean, I'm a fan of his, but I would never thought I'd play with him. But it was David Pack who actually was playing with guitar from Michael at the time and suggested me, because he was going to leave the band, suggested me as a possibility. So Mike auditioned me and liked me and uh, hired me on the spot, pretty much. I met Mike at a rehearsal uh, uh, when Amy was pregnant. That was the first time I met Amy. She was pregnant with their son, Dylan. And that was in 1987. Yeah, that's when I first met Mike.
Mick Jagger was releasing his first solo album. There was a keyboard player who was a friend of whoever I talked to and said, well, you should play with Mick Jagger. And there was obviously it's Mick Jagger. There's a lot of people who want to play with him.
Yeah.
And the audition was Supper. It's obviously if you're auditioning for Mick Jagger, you got the chops. I mean, you got to have the groove. You got to feel it in with the person. But to
Yeah.
Mick Jagger, I got to be able to hang out with you. And what was it? What's your take on like the hang? You got to be able to. You can't go, oh my God, Michael McDonald, I love you so much, because that's
No,
uncomfortable.
that's a great point because again, back to Michael's character. Um, we auditioned in a control room, like a studio control room, no drummer. It was just me, Michael, and the two keyboard players, not even a bass player. And it was very stark and it was pretty scary. Um, and I was told on the spot that I would be singing these high parts, like in Real Love. And I'm like, I was not prepared for that. So I went for the parts and I struggled a little bit with it. I got them, but I struggled a little bit. And I said, man, I'll get those. I just need a little time. And Mike just goes, yeah, you'll get them. Don't worry about it. He just, and I remember after the audition, I said something about my dog because I had just found this stray dog and he really liked that. He just went, yeah, I'm a dog person. And right there, we hit it off. And I think I got that gig more because he was, like you said, he was because we're going to be together all the time. We're going to be in tour buses. We're going to be on planes. We're going to be in hotels. We're going to be sitting for hours before sound check and all of it. So it was a big thing for Mike was being able to hang with somebody. And everybody in the band was like that. Everybody that he picked because of their musicianship, of course, but equally because I want to like this person. And Mike and I have been friends to this day. I mean, dear friends. And that says a lot about his like sense of knowing the right people to pick. I mean, we've had problems with certain members along the way, but overall it's been great. And a lot of it was because we all got along for sure.
I Gotta Try, by the way, is my favorite song from that album.
I
I
love
love
that.
that.
I love that song. And I many times have said, Mike, we've got to work that song up. We've never played that live. And it's like, I don't know, he's got some sort of a diversity to doing the song. And every time he goes, yeah, we should do like a reggae version. I'm like, okay,
No, no.
let's do it like you did on the record. I mean, that's a great song, but for some reason he shies away from that song. I don't understand it, but
You
you
guys
know,
do Sweet Freedom?
oh yeah, that's a big it was our show opener for a while, and then it became like I think it was like our second or third song in the set. And I get a big guitar solo in the end. That's a fun one for me. Classic Michael too. It's the chord changers are just classic Michael. I love that song. Sweet Freedom's funny. We used to open with that when we originally did it. That talk about an '80s track. That song's very '80s,
Very 80s.
starting with the sequencer and computer and the whole thing. So we used to use the sequencer live, and so we were had to be locked into that tempo because we were playing to that sequence. And one time the MIDI screwed up. I don't know if it was like the voltage was wrong, but the song started, and this was live, and it was in a complete wrong key, and it sounded like the devil. So we always joked about that. But eventually we got rid of the sequencer and we came up with a new arrangement that was much more, a little more rock and a little more sort of Motown rock. That was a fun song to play live. Absolutely. We did a we used to do we haven't done them in a while, but we used to do Christmas tours every year. So we would learn like we did Stevie Wonder tune, That's What Christmas Means to Me. We worked up that, and I start the intro dun, 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 on the guitar, and we were doing it in B flat, I think. And at the time on this tour, I had a really bad cold, and so the only thing I could do was take some cold medicine, and cold medicine to me really affects me and just fogs my head up and kind of screws my judgment up. And this was just like our last Christmas tour, which was maybe 2018, and I start the tune, and Michael actually plays guitar on it as well. I think he played ukulele, and I start the tune, and I was really out of it. I started the tune, and I'm playing around, and the band is looking at me like had this like puzzled look on their face, and I just kind of went, "What's up with you guys? What's wrong?" And it wasn't until after the show was over that they told me that I was a half step low. I started in A, so it was a half step low. So the rest of the band kind of went, what the hell are you doing? And I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea until after the show. So all they could do was play a half step lower. And they, to their credit, they covered it. But and I think Mike struggled with it because, you know, he didn't really know how to transpose on a ukulele, so he kind of just laid out. But the bassist and the keyboard player, but they, I mean, that's not really a funny story or anything, but it was like so terrifying when I realized, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. You know, I've got a bunch of those stories. There, one more. I was doing a show with Mike, and we were doing we did two sets, and we were with it was just me and Mike with a different set of musicians, and it was kind of loose, and we took a break, and so I went backstage, and and we were waiting, and I kind of was sitting back there. I was with Mike's wife and my friend Lisa, who I talked about, and I don't know, 20 minutes went by, and I went, what time do we go back on? And they're like, oh, they're on. And I'm like, what? So I ran and just like, the band is playing. And I ran and I just kind of snuck up, picked up my guitar, and I think it was Keep Forgetting they were playing. And I just started playing, and the show went on. And later I said to Mike, I said, man, I'm so sorry. Nobody came and got me. I had no idea. And he goes, I didn't even know you were there. You weren't there. That's typical Mike. He did not even notice. I'm like,
God.
well, great. I mean, I've kind of went, I feel a little insulted, but
When I used to play drums, I remember thinking, uh, embarrassment to me as far as becoming a better player. It never worked that much with me because I'm very average. But I remember going, when I would be embarrassed or do the wrong thing, but as far as chops,
yeah,
you either get off the train and stop doing that because you're going, that's the arena. You got to have, go back to the woodshed, as they say.
yeah.
But that would be a big thing for me. Did you find that when you were younger, when you were a young guitarist? Of
Yeah, there's always the fear of screwing up. I mean, it's for me, like the more terrifying stuff was television, like because we did Johnny Carson, we did Arsenio, we did Jay Leno, we did them all, and that live thing of like that fear of like, oh my God, we're live, you can't do it again. I never screwed up, but I always was afraid I was going to. Uh, and actually, I had some actually really good moments. One of my favorite live performances is us doing Higher Ground on the Jay Leno show. And I had just that night, I had a great solo. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but I just connected with it. And, I'm pretty 50-50. Sometimes I feel like I play good solos, and other times I go, I didn't get that one. But I'll never forget it. Jay Leno stood on the side of the stage off camera and was just like checking me out and checking it out and was like, yeah. And just like, so that was really fun. But yeah, there's always that fear of messing up. I mean, that's like, I feel like I'm going to screw up every time I do everything. I'm just nervous of failing, but I think that's just natural.
yeah. There she goes.
That's another one from a little while ago. I've always liked that song. It's kind of a continuation of uh, "Come a Long Way." It's sort of that same time period, same theme, kind of like you know, I had you, but you're gone now, and the best of luck to you. Uh, and I've always liked that one because it's kind of more of a country bluegrass kind of a feel to it. It's a little more folky. Uh, just something I wrote, and for no other reason because it came out. You know, and I like that one. It's a fun song.
Road Song has a little spit in it. I like it.
Yeah, that was with my friend Steve Leland, my brother-in-law, actually. He's a great uh, he's a great soul, and he's a great harmonica player. So that song was written from a blues thing. We've written a couple things together, but that one was written in my bedroom out in Chatsworth, California, and we just kind of wanted to write a blues thing, and um, it sort of draws on my energy of being on the road all the time, but it's sort of an imaginary scenario as well, like a guy kind of being all he has is just the road. Not a musical sense, just kind of like a being in his car and trying to find life and trying to figure out what to do and where to go next. Maybe losing, coming out of a relationship, but maybe coming out of a way of just starting to try to start a new life. Uh, yeah, it was meant to be gritty, and uh, I've always wanted to put that one down because I love my brother-in-law. He's just a great guy, and wanted to wanted to put his name and his creation out there as well.
Must be something satisfying about, older songs like that. I mean, they could be lost in the ether forever. I mean, all of a sudden you have, it's you can put whatever again mother statement you want to it. Well, it wasn't ready or whatever it is. But but it's kind of be is this satisfying? Like you put that work in back then.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you grow older, the meanings change and your perception change and your education changes. You're able to do things better than you could. And the wonderful thing about the internet is that we're able to do something like this, is also that you can actually put your music out there. And to what degree it's going to reach, it's anybody's guess, but it gives us the ability to share our music and to share our creations and share our feelings. That's the great side of the internet that I couldn't I love. I love it.
Who's the most talented musician you've ever overall? The guy that, when you played with, you go, "Ah, this guy's just," or
That I played with, gosh, there's so many. Um, I mean, I don't know if I could narrow it down to one person. I'm a big fan of Tommy Sims. He's to me, he's just like multifaceted writer, singer, player. Uh, I'm kind of more in awe of him than anybody else I've played with. Uh, but then there's others. I mean, when we played with Billy Preston uh, back in 2004, I think it was, I was in tears because I couldn't believe what was coming out of his voice and his organ playing. It was like, oh my God.
and the
And
Beatles connection.
the Beatles connection, exactly. I literally lost it on stage. I got so choked up.
Did you
But
talk to him? Do you have a chance?
yeah, we talked to him a bunch. He's a real nice guy. And at the time he had just finished an album of Beatles covers that he was doing, and he was pretty sick at the time. He kind of went through like the whole kidney dialysis thing. So you know, he died a couple of years later after meeting him. But I got to play with him a few times, and yeah, I did get to talk to him. And he was a charming guy, real low key. And he respected the hell out of Michael. So that was great. But yeah, I mean, there's been so many. I don't know. I mean, but yeah, Tommy Sims, Billy Preston, Mark Douthit, who plays saxophone for Michael, is just an amazing. Pat Coyle. Pat Coyle is the keyboard player for Michael. Just a phenomenal musician, phenomenal and human being. Um, Dan Needham. I could name them all. They're just all just great musicians. As far as uh, people I don't know and influences, Steve Lukather. I mean, I've actually got to play with Steve. Uh, when Toto and Mike toured together. Um, I never really got to play back and forth to Steve. We just kind of shared the stage, and I played rhythm behind him, which is, that's saying something. But as far as him as an influence and the records that they made and the records that he's been involved with, I'm honored to call him a friend, but I just think he's the most phenomenal guitar player ever. I mean, Jeff Beck, of course. Jeff Beck is I still can't believe the stuff that came out of him. Jimi Hendrix is another one that I still draw from to this day. Nobody like him.
What was it about Hendrix?
Well, his sound, the sound that he got out of a guitar and the sound, the melodies he would come up with, um, just the mood that he would set in his guitar playing alone. And then as a singer, I thought he was a brilliant singer. Uh, Completely different style. I liked his sort of like surrealism that the way he looked at life, like seemed like a super sweet, gentle soul. I
And he
think he died.
was. Everyone
You know,
says he was.
he was, and I liked his songwriting. Um, his version of All Along the Watchtower is just, I can't get enough of that. I mean, yeah, even Bob Dylan says that's Jimmy's song. That's not my song anymore.
Yeah.
You know, Jimmy, who knows where he would have gone if he would have lived. Um, I think he died by accident. I know he using too much, but I don't think he was one of those guys that, I think it was just an accident. Who knows where he would have gone? But Jimmy, maybe my all-time favorite guitar player, and Lukather would tell you the same thing. Like many guitar players that I admire, even Clapton says the same thing. You know, Hendrix was just like, what? I think Luke, he's he's versatile in the sense where he came up loving the Beatles and rock and all the rock stuff that we love, but he's also really kind of a jazz guy. So he's schooled. He plays keyboard, so he knows. He writes on keyboard. He comes at it from a music theory angle, so he's very schooled. Um, and I think the more versatile and the more you know about your instrument and music theory gives you those tools to kind of but let's face it, he's got a great imagination. Um, and he was in, yeah, I think one of his main influences was Jeff Beck as well.
Hmm.
Jeff Beck and Hendrix. He draws from those guys. Um, I'm sure you saw the footage of him playing Jeff Beck's guitar. His wife brought it out to certain players, and Luke got to play it. I'm sure that was amazing feeling for him. And Luke's just such a great guy. I love the guy. I mean, I really do. And when we toured with him, I got to hang with him a bunch. And I have to say, I was always in awe of him. Like I was kind of like a stupid kid around him. It took me a while to kind of go, okay, just calm the frick down, and because he's just a normal guy, with
Yeah.
faults. Again, it takes the guards down. So you just feel at ease around him. And I think that's part of his personality. That's why he plays the way he plays. But he loves music. He's got a heart of gold. Luke is a deep feeling guy.
Man, remember, if you like what you heard, make sure you click on the bell notification and subscribe to our channel. If you want to make a donation, there's always a PayPal link in the description. Comment on our videos, share them on social media, and like them. I'm John Bowden. This is Rocky Stream Music. Take care of yourself.